The last ever super touring car race in the UK is being run under lights. What a way to go, and what more fitting way for the championship to end than for the entire series to come down to the last race meeting of the year. And better still, all three protagonists in the title hunt are wedged together on the first two rows of the grid. Rickard Rydell, he's in pole position, but Rickard really needs to win this race if he's to take his title chase right down to the last race, the feature later on tonight. Tom Christensen out of the title hunt, but he could be a spoiler in this. Then on the second row of the grid, Alain Menu in the Ford, and right alongside him on the second row, Anthony Reid in the other Ford. Now these two guys have got to think about tactics. Do they worry about Rickard Rydell or just let him go and worry about each other? And either way, worry about getting around the first corner together, side by side.
First corner always a problem at Silverstone, but Rickard Rydell has done half of the job by getting his pole position. And alongside him, the Dane Tom Christensen, showing that Honda really is a competitive team this year. Then it's the two Fords of Menu and Reid in row 2, Matt Neal in a 98 Nissan, and James Thompson, and we'll talk about Neal a bit later, Plato and Tarquini in row 4, and then Vincent Rademacher and teammate Ivan Muller in row 5. David Leslie returns with a Nissan in row 6, and the fastest of the Class B cars, James Kay in his Honda. Two Peugeots in row 7, Bryce Wilson in a Nissan in row 8 alongside Mark Lemmer, with the two Nissans of Norden and Collard in row 9. Nick James and Kimber Smith in his Toyota in row 10, Tom Ferrier in his Alfa, row 11.
Revs are up, ready for the off. Rydell on the right, he's away cleanly, so is Christensen. A pair of Fords right behind them. All the Class A cars through cleanly. That's Dan Eves in the Class B having a dart now, coming towards us for the first time. Christensen on the left. That's James Thompson lunging up the inside. Rydell is through cleanly, then it's nose to tail. Reid and Menu. Matt Neal trying to move around the outside, on board with Matt Neal now. James Thompson ahead of us. That's Alain Menu right beside us. In through Maggott's corner, we've got to turn right in a second. Neal and Menu very close. Jason Plato. Menu is off. Menu is spinning. Can he hold it? Menu is off, and Plato. Jason Plato has collected him on the turn into Beckett's. And that's off. That's the end of his race.
Oh man, I've been Menu out, and I got tapped into Carl's
Well, that's disaster for Menu. His championship hopes clearly must have just dropped. And Jason Plato also, he's out with a damaged suspension, maybe a damaged steering.
Great news for this man in a bad sort of way, because Anthony Reid will think one down, one to go. On board now with Gabriele Tarquini, that's Matt Neal, the independent ahead of us, and an absolute death wobble there for Matt Neal, turning into the complex, hangs onto it, side by side, rubbing pedals with each other. Big slide by Neal Tarquini through one of the boxels there, darting up the inside. I'm getting dizzy already, and we're still on the first lap. Now let's have another look at Alain Menu.
Coming into Beckett, Neal, Menu, Plato, but Menu, he loses. I thought initially maybe Plato had been involved, but in fact Menu just loses the back of the car. That's the penalty, a front-wheel drive, cold rear tires. Was he too anxious? Was he too keen? Well, certainly that confirmed that he was not going to go much further.
And a very big impact there from Jason Plato, and it's had a big impact on the Ford team as well. They know how bad that is, how serious it is for Menu. Meantime, back on board with Anthony Reid, he will know that Alain Menu, the man he's challenging most, is now out.
Menu is out. Menu out.
There's the confirmation. So on board with Reid, ahead of us now, and Jason Plato, of course, having to come back into the pits. I guess his race has run as well. A lot of smoke there.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage on the left front of the car, but back, look at the Class B battle.
I know, side by side there for Morrison and Kay. That's as close as you like, and Kay says, no way, Jose, I'm going to hold you off. Morrison says, I'm going to squeeze through, and does he, side by side into the complex. Morrison's holding it. Kay's not going to give up that easily. Side by side, another left-hand turn. There's Kay, and Morrison is through. Now Morrison's got to hang on to this now for the Luffield right-hander. Kay's trying to feed on the power. Morrison's got it, though, it looks like.
And it's going to be a battle just of pure horsepower. Peugeot versus Honda down the long pit straight.
And it looks as though it's got some serious squirt, that Peugeot, straight across the line, and a little bit of a comfort zone gap. Not a comfort zone gap, though, for Rickard Rydell. He's in the lead. Christensen is really bringing him under pressure now into the complex. Everything so far, at least, is working Rydell's way. He had most points to make up. Menu is off, and Rydell still is in the lead, but Christensen looks like he's really hunting to take that off. Feeding Feeding the power into the right-hander. That Ford looks very crisp in there. Now, what can Christensen do on the back straight as we look at Jason Plato's car?
It all kind of slowed up going to the back. It's Alan half spun, and then we were all kind of waiting to see which way he went. And he kind of went across the inside curve sideways, and I had nowhere to go but kind of stop. And I kind of stopped waiting for him to get out of my way, and I got a punt up the rear, and that sent me into Alan. So I don't think so.
Well, all very unfortunate for Alan Menu, but he was the master of his own fate in that particular one. Plato just an innocent bystander, and not always the case either.
Well, bad news for Menu, but problems for Reed as well now. Those eyes in the rear vision mirror tell us that he's having to fend off a big challenge from this man, James Thompson, in the Honda. Honda's alongside him going through Abbey, side by side up the hill. He looks over his shoulder. We know where you are, James. You're there somewhere. We're going to turn right in a minute. Bridge corner. This is very fast, and that's Thompson. Thompson is through. Now, what can Reed do? Big left-hander into the complex now. No, they've definitely lost that position.
And really, Anthony Reed's been looking everywhere, but ahead of him, he's looked to the side, to the back, and now he's lost another position. But remember, he came into this race with the biggest number of points, but he also has got a drop more than any of his teammates.
Big pressure for Reed. Nice pass, though, from James Thompson.
And of course, that's also affected the battle for the lead, but look at this battle further down the field.
And Matt Neal just being slithered past by Ivan Muller. Muller now right behind Gabriele Tarquini, and ahead of us is Anthony Reed with more problems to deal with. Muller just really in the tow there. This is the big long haul back down the straight. Reed coming under big pressure from Gabriele Tarquini. Meantime, David Leslie is also coming under some big pressure from Vincent Rademacher, but this is not good news for Anthony Reed.
And as Reed's got a problem, he's allowing himself to be sucked back into the pack. And, you know, that's danger zone for Anthony Reed. He wants to stay clear of any of these three cars behind him.
Well, there's the man leading the pack behind him, Tarquini. He's in 5th position because we know Anthony Reed is now back in 4th. And Tarquini is really looking to squeeze his way through. Nick James at play again.
Seems to like the gravel here at Silverstone.
That's comfy stuff, but this isn't comfy for Anthony Reed because he's weaving all over the place trying to hold Tarquini off. This is the drag down into Abbey. Reed's got the defensive line. Tarquini is side by side. There's a U-turn coming up. This is maximum pressure. Muller's trying to get past as well. Matt Neal is bunching up all over the back of Anthony Reed. They're swarming on him.
And they're coming up to Bridge Corner and then into the complex. But yellow flag out, so no overtaking this time.
Okay, on board with Muller now. Excuse me, Tarquini just slithers back past us. Muller looking down the inside. Sacre bleu! That's Matt Neal just muscles his way past. Unlike Ivan Muller there, just seemed almost to leave the door open, but he's lost his space. Neal's now behind Tarquini.